Welcome to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're joining us today. We're doing something really exciting, taking a massive amount of financial expertise from top financial minds, accountants, and self-made multimillionaires, and synthesizing the whole shebang into one cohesive, step-by-step roadmap. If you've ever felt like, man, no matter how hard I work, I just can't seem to get ahead financially, well, you are exactly where you need to be. We're going to look closely at the data, the habits, and the exact mathematical formulas that separate people who build true wealth from those who just stay trapped in the cycle.
So, let's get things off with a question. Why do high earners still live paycheck to paycheck? Seriously, the data shows that over 60% of people earning over $100,000 a year still feel entirely broke. Crazy, right? But it tells us a fundamental truth right out of the gate. Building wealth isn't just about what you make, it's entirely about how you manage what you make. You can out-earn a bad salary, for sure, but you literally cannot out-earn a bad financial system.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our structured journey for today. 1. Breaking bad money habits. 2. Escaping the debt trap. 3. The ultimate budgeting rule. 4. The investing game plan. And finally, 5. Debating assets and risk.
Starting off with Section 1, breaking bad money habits and rewiring how you handle money.
Look, before we can build an empire, we've got to fix the cracks in the foundation. Most people operate with this completely backward mentality, right? Your paycheck hits, you pay rent, your subscriptions, you go out with friends, and then you just cross your fingers and try to save whatever is left over. But the wealthy treat money entirely differently. It's all about paying yourself first. They treat a minimum 10% savings goal as their most important, totally non-negotiable monthly bill. You put that 10% away the literal minute you get paid. And the incredible thing is, your brain will actually just naturally structure the rest of your month around the remaining 90%, and you honestly won't even realize you're saving in the background.
And honestly, that 10% rule is your ultimate defense against a major wealth killer known as lifestyle inflation. This is that endless cycle where, making more money simply triggers buying a bigger house, a nicer leased car, and way more expensive hobbies. It proves mathematically that earning a higher salary will absolutely not build you wealth if you don't consciously put a cap on this specific cycle. You absolutely must lock in your lifestyle while your income grows.
Moving on to Section 2, escaping the debt trap and tackling the $40,000 problem.
Our sources highlight a pretty stressful reality that a lot of people face, drowning in, say, $40,000 of personal loans and credit cards. And when you're in a hole this deep, it starts spilling over into your health, your relationships, your work, the whole thing. So how do you get out? Well, you first have to respect the math. 22%, that is the average credit card interest rate today. Carrying this kind of bad debt mathematically cancels out any clever little rewards points or cash back you think you're earning. If you're paying 22% interest, the credit card companies are getting rich, not you. You are literally bleeding money every single month. So the crucial takeaway here is implementing these harsh but completely necessary steps for debt recovery. First up, you've got to cut expenses aggressively. We're talking extreme sacrifice here, selling assets, cutting out every single luxury. Second, you target the highest interest debt first to stop the bleeding. And third, well, while nobody really wants to talk about it, the data from our sources notes that declaring bankruptcy is actually sometimes the most logical step. Research shows that people who face bankruptcy head-on often recover faster and end up in a much better long-term position than those who just limp along in chronic financial stress for a decade.
Which brings us to Section 3, the ultimate budgeting rule and the 25-15-50-10 system. Once you're finally out of that debt trap, you need a robust, automated system to manage your income perfectly. Here is the exact mathematical breakdown of a perfect monthly paycheck, and it works whether you make $30,000 or $300,000 a year. 25% goes to growth, so assets that actually make you money. 15% goes to stability, that's your emergency armor. 50% for essentials and 10% for rewards. Now, what's absolutely vital here is capping your essentials at 50%. The average person actually spends 70% here, mostly because they confuse luxuries with essentials. Forcing this number down to 50% makes you ruthlessly cut out that hidden lifestyle creep, like those 5 streaming subscriptions you never use or the daily takeout.
Let's zoom in on that 15% stability slice. Our sources argue pretty convincingly that most people don't actually have a money problem, they have a stability problem. I mean, one broken down car or a lost job and it derails everything. To fix this, you calculate your bare-bones baseline expenses, multiply it by 5 months, and park that cash in a high-yield savings account, earning 4 to 5%. This money must have zero market risk, meaning no stocks, no crypto, and you must be able to access it within 24 hours. This right here, this is your financial bulletproof vest.
But to protect that budget, you need rules, not willpower.
Enter the 7-day pause for impulse purchases. If you want something, just wait 7 days. If you still want it after a week, ask yourself, are you buying for the brand or the value? Wealthy people don't throw money at marketing. They calculate costs per wear. A $60 pair of boots you wear 100 times, that's 60 cents per wear. Now that is value.
All right, moving to Section 4, the investing game plan and building your growth engine.
Here's the harsh truth. Simply saving money will actually make you poorer over time due to inflation. Getting your money to work for you is your only real escape. Think about the staggering power of compound interest here. Let's say Billy started investing at age 20. Over 40 years, he put in $96,000 out of his own pocket. Now, his friend Phil waited until he was 30. To try and catch up, Phil invested a lot more every month, putting in $108,000 total out of pocket. But assuming a 10% market average, Phil ended up with about $678,000, while Billy ended up with a staggering $1.26 million. Billy put in $12,000 less, but walked away with nearly $600,000 more simply because he gave his money 10 extra years to compound. Seriously, start now.
But hold on, before you pick a single stock, you have to shield your money. Taxes are going to be the single largest expense of your entire life. Setting up the right tax-sheltered account, like a Roth IRA in the US or an ISA in the UK, is absolutely crucial. These accounts legally protect your compound growth so that your massive future gains aren't just slowly eaten away by the government over time.
So, once your account is open, how do you actually invest? Well, we generally see two paths here. Active investing involves hands-on research into individual stocks or properties, aiming to beat the market with 13% or higher returns. It takes immense effort. On the flip side, passive investing is entirely hands-off. You're simply buying a slice of the whole market, like the S&P 500, which has historically averaged about 10% a year. The crucial takeaway from our sources? Data actually proves that passive investors consistently outperform over 90% of highly paid, actively managed funds over a 20-year period. For most of us, passive is definitely the winning play.
And that brings us to our final part, Section 5, debating assets and risk and finding your perfect portfolio.
Now, our sources feature some pretty intense debate among top financial experts on exactly what asset is best, so let's break down their arguments completely neutrally. First up, we have traditional S&P 500 index funds. They offer a steady 10% average, moderate risk, and require very low effort. You literally just automate it. Second, real estate. It offers great cash flow and lower volatility, but it requires incredibly high effort and management to deal with tenants and sudden repairs. And finally, Bitcoin and crypto. It boasts massive historical upside, averaging well over 100% annually, but it comes with extreme gut-wrenching volatility, sometimes dropping 70% in a single year. The debate here really boils down to what you can stomach: the slow and steady index fund, the high-effort cash flow of property, or the chaotic but high-reward roller coaster of crypto.
And this quote right here, it cuts straight through all the noise on social media. There is no such thing as returns without effort. We've got to completely debunk this myth of entirely passive income where you just sit on a beach with a laptop and get rich. True wealth requires a trade-off. It requires either the immense effort of learning a complex market, the emotional pain of sitting through extreme market volatility and crashes, or the sheer, boring discipline of decades of patience. You just have to pick your effort.
And speaking of patience, I absolutely love this surprising fact highlighted in our sources. The best performing investment accounts in the United States literally belong to people who are, well, dead. Why? Because they don't touch them. They don't panic sell when the news is bad, they don't get all emotional, and they definitely don't constantly tinker with their portfolio. Removing human emotion is the ultimate secret to portfolio growth. Set up a system, automate it, and just step away.
As we bring this explainer to a close, this quote perfectly summarizes the entire wealthy mindset. Wealth isn't what you see, it's what you don't see. Think about it. True wealth isn't the guy wearing designer clothes and driving a brand new leased car with $40 left in his checking account. True wealth is the invisible, fully funded 5-month stability account. It's the automated index funds quietly compounding in the background. It is the absolute peace of mind knowing you own your time.
So, I want to leave you with this final, powerful question to reflect on. What is your vision of your future self? And are your current money habits actually getting you there? If the answer is no, well, you now have the blueprint. It's time to open up your budget tracker and take action today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.